So today, we're going to dive into
Okay.
this whole thing, why we buy luxury items we can't afford.
Interesting.
Specifically for you, by the way. We got some really interesting research on
Okay.
this whole consumer behavior,
Yeah.
luxury purchases thing. I think you're going to find it. Okay, so get this.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, I was walking past this electronics store, and they had, the latest VR headset
Oh, yeah.
on display, and like the top of the line one.
Right.
The one that makes you feel like you're actually in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't need a new one.
Right.
My old one's totally fine. But for a second there, my brain was like, you gotta have this.
Yeah.
You ever feel that?
Oh, absolutely.
So today, we're going to dive into
Okay.
this whole thing, why we buy luxury items we can't afford.
Interesting.
Specifically for you, by the way. We got some really interesting research
Okay.
on this whole consumer behavior,
Yeah.
luxury purchases thing. And I think you're going to find it pretty insightful.
I think a lot of people probably would relate to this. It is intriguing, I think, how we often approach everyday shopping with, a sense of, okay, I need this is practical.
Right.
And then it comes to luxury goods, and it's like logic just goes out the window. Our brains seem to just flip a switch.
Yeah, it's like a shopping spree on autopilot.
Yeah.
So break it down for me. What's going on up in our heads when we're looking at that, luxury car
Sir.
or that designer handbag?
So think of it this way. Your prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
the part of your brain that's in charge of sensible decisions,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like the referee, right?
Okay.
Trying to keep your impulses in check.
Gotcha.
It's weighing the pros and cons, asking
Yeah.
those logical questions. Do I really need this? Can I really afford this?
Right.
But then there's that other part of our brain, the emotional side,
Yeah.
that's cheering on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Egging us on to make that impulse buy.
It's like a little devil on
Yeah.
your shoulder.
Like, do it! Do it!
And let's not forget the role of dopamine here.
Okay.
You know that neurotransmitter
Yeah.
associated with pleasure and reward?
Mm-hmm.
Even the mere anticipation of owning a luxury item can trigger this surge of dopamine.
Making us feel good
Yeah.
before we've even bought anything.
So it's like the thrill of the chase,
Mm-hmm.
the daydreaming about it
Yes.
is what gets us hooked.
Yeah.
And this paper actually mentions how
Oh, interesting.
the luxury brands, they use things like, aspirational imagery
Right.
and these limited edition releases to keep us on the hook, to keep us wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
So we get that dopamine rush.
It's brilliant, but also kind of sneaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
By creating this sense of scarcity and exclusivity,
Right.
they heighten that anticipation,
Oh, totally.
making us even more eager to buy.
It's like we don't stand a chance.
Right.
But so dopamine isn't the only
Yeah.
chemical at play here, is it?
No. Let's not forget about serotonin.
Okay.
This one's often linked to mood and feelings of social status and luxury brands.
Yeah.
Oh, they're masters
Yeah.
at tapping into this.
How so?
Think about it. How often do they showcase their products alongside images of success, wealth, exclusivity? Our brains, seeking that serotonin boost, make that connection. If I own this, then I'll feel successful and admired too.
It's like the keeping up with the Joneses dilemma.
Exactly.
It's like they're selling us a shortcut
Yeah.
to feeling good about ourselves.
Yeah.
Even if it costs an arm and a leg.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They're offering us this way to elevate our status, at least in our minds,
Right.
through their products.
Okay.
And, as this research highlights this desire for status, it's amplified even more
Bye.
by the bandwagon effect.
Oh, right.
You see others with it, your friends, family influencers, sporting the latest thing.
Yeah.
You're more likely to want it too, regardless of if you can afford it or not.
Yeah. And speaking of influence, I feel like social media,
Oh, yeah.
the algorithm,
Yeah, absolutely.
they throw fuel on the fire,
Yeah,
right?
do.
They're constantly showing us
Mhm.
what other people are buying,
Right.
creating this never-ending cycle of comparison and desire.
It's a recipe for overspending,
Totally.
for sure, especially when you factor in things like targeted advertising,
Oh, right.
where they can just hone in on people who have shown interest in their products
Right.
or similar ones. It's like they're reading our minds.
I know. It's a little creepy, but also kind of impressive.
Right.
So we've got
Yeah.
dopamine
Mm-hmm.
urging us to chase that pleasure.
Yes.
Serotonin
Uh-huh.
promising us a boost in status and mood.
Yes.
And then this bandwagon effect.
Yep.
Making us feel like we need to keep up with the crowd.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Is there more?
There is.
Okay, give it to me.
The research mentioned oxytocin.
Wait, oxytocin.
Yes.
Isn't that like the cuddle hormone?
It is, yes,
Yeah.
the one associated with bonding.
Right. Bonding and connection.
Mm,
What's that got to do with luxury?
that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
You see, luxury brands are exceptionally skilled at cultivating a sense of belonging
Oh, interesting.
among their customers.
Oh.
They're going beyond just selling a product.
Mm-hmm.
They're creating communities.
So you're saying buying a luxury product, it's not just about
No.
owning the item. It's like buying your way
Exactly.
into a club.
Precisely. Think about those exclusive customer events,
Okay.
the online forums,
Right.
personalized shopping experiences.
Mm-hmm.
These all contribute to that feeling of belonging, and
Right.
luxury brands know
Yeah.
that if they can tap into that deep-seated human need
Mm-hmm.
for connection, we're more likely to open our wallets.
So humans, we're social creatures at our core.
Yeah,
We crave that connection,
Mhm.
that belonging.
absolutely.
And it's like these brands are giving us a way to feel that, But-
Mhm.
obviously through a pretty expensive lens. But it's not just about,
No.
the feel-good hormones, the
Mhm.
social pressures. There's also the
Ish.
marketing, how they manipulate our desires.
Mhm. The research paper goes into this, the psychology behind
Okay.
luxury marketing, and it's fascinating. They're masters at crafting these immersive experiences,
Right.
both online and in their physical stores.
I know what you mean.
Right.
It's like you walk into a high-end store
Yeah.
and you feel like you've stepped into another world.
Yes.
Everything, the lighting,
Mm-hmm.
the music, the way they display things.
Yeah.
It's designed to make you feel special,
It is.
pampered, and ready to buy.
Absolutely.
It's like they're creating a bubble
Right.
of luxury
Yeah.
that you just get sucked into.
But you can't resist.
And they use all these psychological tactics, too.
They do, like anchoring, for example.
Anchoring.
Yeah, where they might put like a very expensive item
Right.
right next to one that's slightly less expensive. And suddenly that second item
Right.
seems like a bargain, even though it's still out of your price range.
It's so sneaky. It's like they're playing mind games with us,
They are.
and we don't even realize it.
It's true. And that's why it's so essential to be
Yeah.
aware of these tactics.
Yeah.
The more we understand how our brains work
Right.
and how these brands are using that to their advantage,
Mm-hmm.
the better equipped we are to make good decisions.
So knowledge is power, huh?
It is.
It's like we need a mental toolkit
Yeah.
to combat all these persuasive techniques. But what can we do?
Well, the good news is there are strategies
Okay.
we can employ
Okay, tell me more.
to take back control. And that's what we're going to be discussing in the next part
Ooh, can't wait.
of our deep dive. Stay tuned. We'll be back after a quick hit.
So before we get into
Yeah.
strategies for resisting,
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on something you said earlier.
Okay.
This idea that
Yeah.
maybe this desire for luxury
Yeah.
has evolutionary roots.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Well-
So what's the story there?
Well, it's fascinating to consider.
Mm.
For a lot of human history, resources were scarce, right?
Right.
So owning luxury goods,
Mm-hmm.
it was a signal of wealth, of power,
Okay.
of the ability to survive, to thrive.
Right.
These were attractive qualities
Okay.
to potential mates.
Oh, so back in the caveman days,
Yeah,
if you had a really shiny rock
right.
or a luxurious fur pelt, you were basically a hot commodity.
You could say that.
Right.
And while our society has obviously evolved
Yeah.
significantly since then,
Right.
those deeply ingrained instincts,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't entirely disappeared.
Interesting.
Our brains still associate
Yeah.
luxury with success, with desirability,
Okay.
even if it's subconscious.
So it's like when we buy that,
Yeah.
expensive watch or designer handbag,
Right.
we're not just trying to impress others.
Yeah.
We're tapping into
Yeah.
that ancient instinct
Mm.
that tells us,
Yes.
hey, you're doing well.
Yeah.
You've achieved a certain level
Oh,
of
sick.
status and
Yeah.
security.
It's a blend of nature and nurture.
Okay.
We're hardwired
Yeah.
to seek status, to display success.
Right.
And these brands have gotten so good at tapping into that.
Okay, so we've talked about the psychology. We've
Mhm.
talked about a bit of the evolutionary history.
Yeah.
But let's get practical.
Okay.
What can we actually do
Right.
to resist those temptations?
Yeah.
When we see that thing
Yes.
that we know we can't afford,
Mm-hmm.
but we want it so bad.
The $1,000,000 question, right?
I know.
No one-size-fits-all solution,
Of course.
but a critical first step,
Mm.
awareness.
Okay.
Recognize that these desires, they're often driven by emotions, by instincts,
Right.
not logic.
Okay, so how do we change the game?
Well, one of the most effective techniques is something called
Oh,
the
good.
30-day rule.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
So when you're considering a big purchase,
Mm.
especially non-essential item,
Yeah.
force yourself to wait 30 days.
Before buying it.
Does it really work, though?
You'd be amazed
Okay.
how often that initial urge just fades away.
Right.
You know, that waiting period gives you time to think, do you need it?
Yeah.
Can you afford it?
Right.
Does it align with your goals?
So we're giving the logical part of our brain,
Yes.
like that prefrontal cortex we talked about, a
Exactly.
chance to catch up to
Yeah.
the emotional side.
That's right. And while you're waiting,
Yeah.
do some research.
Like what?
Compare prices.
Okay.
Read reviews. Look for alternatives. You might find a similar item
Right.
at a better price.
Yeah.
Or realize you don't need it at all.
Yeah, it's so true. Sometimes we get so caught up in the excitement
Yes.
of a potential purchase
Yeah.
that we don't take the time
Right.
to consider all the options.
Absolutely. Another strategy is to focus on experiences
Okay.
rather than
Possessions.
material possessions. Yeah. Studies show
Okay.
that we get more lasting happiness
Right.
from experiences
Interesting.
than from material goods.
Yeah, it's like they say collect moments, not things.
Exactly.
The memories tend to stick around longer than the thrill of like a new gadget or a designer outfit.
Exactly. So instead of buying that handbag,
Yeah.
maybe take a weekend trip
Ooh,
with friends.
I like that.
Enroll in a cooking class.
Okay.
Splurge on tickets to a concert.
Right.
These experiences,
Yeah.
they create lasting memories. They enrich our lives in a way that
Yeah.
stuff just can't.
And you can share those experiences
Yes.
with other people,
Absolutely.
which I think
Yeah.
amplifies the joy. I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, focusing on experiences. What else?
Here's another one.
Okay.
Consider what's called the cost per wear
Cost per wear.
or cost per use
Okay, I'm intrigued.
of an item.
Tell me more.
Okay, so it's a simple concept.
Instead of just looking at the price tag,
Right.
think about how often you'll use the item.
Gotcha.
So if it's something you'll wear or use every day,
Yeah.
the cost per wear might be low,
Right.
even if the initial price was high.
Okay.
But if it's something you'll only use a couple of times a year,
Yeah.
that cost per wear suddenly skyrockets.
So that designer dress
Right.
you buy for a special occasion
Yeah.
might seem like a splurge,
Mm-hmm.
but if you only wear it once,
Right.
the cost per wear,
It becomes huge.
it's outrageous.
It is. And it
Yeah.
helps to put things in perspective.
Right.
Suddenly,
Yeah.
that dress doesn't seem so appealing.
Right. So it's all about being mindful
Yeah.
of the value
Exactly.
that we're getting for our money.
That's right.
Okay. Anything else?
Prioritize quality over quantity.
Okay.
Instead of buying a bunch of cheap, trendy items
Right.
that will fall apart
Yeah.
or go out of style quickly,
Mm-hmm.
invest in a few high-quality pieces.
Yeah. That will last for years.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Sometimes it's better to save up
Yeah.
for something you really love,
Mhm.
something that will stand the test of time.
Absolutely. And finally,
Okay.
remember, true luxury,
Mm-hmm.
it isn't about accumulating a lot of stuff.
Right.
It's about living a life that's meaningful and fulfilling.
Beautifully said.
So it's about aligning your spending with your values, prioritizing enriching experiences,
Right.
finding joy in the simpler things.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about denying ourselves pleasure.
No.
It's about finding it
Yes.
and the things that truly matter.
Exactly. And it's about making choices
Yeah.
that empower us, not
Mhm.
just financially,
Right.
but emotionally,
Yeah.
even spiritually.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah.
So we've covered the brain chemistry,
Yes.
the marketing tactics, the societal pressures,
Yeah.
but ultimately it comes
Yeah.
down to conscious choices.
Yes. Absolutely. And those choices,
Yeah.
they're empowering. When we take control
Right.
of our spending and our desires,
Mm-hmm.
we're not just managing our finances,
Yeah.
we're shaping our lives.
That's powerful stuff.
It is.
It's not about deprivation.
Yeah.
It's about
Finding
a
fulfillment?
deeper sense of fulfillment.
Exactly.
And that kind of fulfillment.
Yeah.
You can't put a price tag on that.
Well said.
So we're going to continue
Yes.
exploring this whole idea in the final part
Okay.
of our deep dive. We'll be right back. All right, so we've been talking about,
Yeah.
the psychology of why we crave luxury,
Mm-hmm.
even when it, like, totally breaks the bank.
Right.
And we've touched on some ways to resist
Yeah,
those impulse buys.
absolutely.
But I want to hear more.
Okay.
What other practical tips
Yes.
do we have
Sure.
to help us make, like, smarter choices?
Okay, so let's dive into some specific techniques.
Okay.
One of the simplest yet most effective is the 30-day rule.
Okay, you mentioned this before,
I did, yeah.
but does it actually work?
You'd be surprised
Okay.
how often it does. So, if you're considering
Yeah.
a significant purchase,
Okay.
especially something that's not essential,
Right.
give yourself 30 days
Okay.
before committing.
I could see myself, like, getting caught up in the moment
Oh,
and
yeah.
forgetting all about it.
It happens, but that's why
Yeah.
that 30 days is so crucial.
All right.
It gives you that time to reflect. Do you really need this?
Okay.
Is it a responsible purchase?
Huh?
Or are you maybe trying to
Right.
fill some kind of void?
Interesting.
Does it align with your long-term goals?
So it's like we're hitting pause
Yes.
on that impulse
Exactly.
and letting,
Yeah,
our rational minds catch up.
exactly. And while you're waiting,
Yeah.
why not do a little research?
Okay, like what kind of research?
Compare prices,
Okay.
read some reviews,
Mhm.
see if there are the other options. You might find the same thing for a better price,
Yeah.
or you might realize you don't need it after all.
That's true.
Right.
I think sometimes we get so focused
Yeah.
on one thing,
Yeah.
we don't even bother to look around.
That's a good point. Another helpful approach is to shift
To shift what?
your focus from acquiring things
Okay,
to curating
To curating what?
experiences.
Oh, experiences.
Yes. Studies have shown,
Oh, really?
yeah, that experiences actually bring more lasting happiness
Interesting.
than material goods.
It's like they say, collect moments,
Yeah,
not things.
exactly.
Memories tend to stick around longer than, like, that
yeah.
thrill of a new gadget or a designer outfit.
That's a good point. So instead of buying, say, a pricey item,
Yeah,
maybe plan a weekend trip
Yeah.
with loved ones.
I like that.
Sign up for a workshop.
Oh.
Maybe some tickets to a theater performance.
Right.
These experiences,
Yeah.
they create memories, enrich our lives,
Right.
and they offer a chance for connection.
Yeah, and I feel like those shared experiences
Mhm.
become part of, like, the fabric of our lives.
Absolutely.
More so than
Yeah.
some
Mhm.
new shoes.
Of course.
Or whatever. Okay, so experiences.
Yes. Now, let's talk about another technique.
Give me.
It's called evaluating the cost per wear
Cost per wear.
or cost per use.
Okay, tell me more.
It's a simple way to reframe your thinking.
How so?
Instead of just focusing on the price tag,
Okay,
consider how often you'll use the item.
gotcha.
So if it's something you use every day,
Yeah,
the cost per wear might be pretty low.
Right.
Even if the price was high initially.
Yeah.
But if it's something you'll only use a few times a year,
right.
that cost per wear,
It goes way up.
it does. So, for example,
Okay.
that dress you bought for a special occasion
Oh, right.
seemed like a splurge.
Yeah.
But if it's just hanging in the closet,
Yeah.
the cost per wear
Right.
tells a different story.
It's a reality check.
It is.
Makes you think twice.
It does. And it can really help you make better choices.
It's about assessing the value.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
Prioritize quality over quantity.
Oh, okay.
Instead of filling your closet
Right.
with cheap, trendy items
Yeah.
that won't last,
Mhm.
invest in some pieces
Yeah.
that are high quality.
Right. That will last a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And probably the most important thing to remember,
Okay.
true luxury.
Yeah.
It's not about all the stuff you have.
Right.
It's about living a life that's meaningful, authentic,
Mhm.
aligned with your values.
So it's about defining luxury for yourself,
Exactly.
not letting, like, external things dictate that.
That's right. It's about finding joy and fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
in the things that matter.
Mhm.
Experiences, relationships, passions. Material things are nice,
Yeah.
but they shouldn't be the only source of happiness.
This has been really eye-opening.
I'm glad.
We've explored the psychology.
Yeah.
We've learned about the marketing tactics and, those practical tips.
Absolutely.
I think those are really helpful.
I hope so.
So it all comes down to awareness,
Uh-huh.
intentionality,
Yeah,
and questioning
Yeah.
those impulses.
that's right.
So next time you see that tempting thing,
Yeah.
hit the pause button.
Yes.
Reflect, ask yourself
That's it.
the tough questions. Do I need this?
Yeah.
Can I afford it?
Absolutely.
By taking the time to pause,
Yeah.
we can make choices
Right.
that align with our values,
Uh-huh.
our long-term well-being.
And remember,
Yeah.
true luxury.
Mm.
It's often in the simple things. connections, experiences, living a life that's authentic and fulfilling.
What a great note to end on.
Thank you.
That wraps up our deep dive for today.
Great.
Hope you found it insightful.
Me too.
And empowering.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy mindful shopping.